From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, I am Estefania Bravo, and this is From the South. Nearly 2,000 members of the Central American Migrant Caravan have already arrived to Tijuana, Mexico. They are currently waiting in shelters for more migrants to arrive, with hopes that the U.S. government will grant them asylum. However, to be eligible, migrants will have to enter the U.S. through official ports of entry. As the main body of the migrant caravan continues to arrive in Tijuana, workers of the U.S. side are reinforcing the border wall with barbed wire. Reports say that the migrants plan to approach the U.S. port of entry en masse later on Friday to ask for asylum. And as more and more people from the migrant caravan approach Tijuana, residents of the city have mixed feelings about the extra security at the border.
Many people disagree, but they are still human beings. They have to live somewhere.
Unfortunately, it is necessary. The reasons are regrettable and all that, but everyone defends what's theirs. That's it.
Our correspondent Pablo Perez is with the main body of the caravan and brings us this report.
We're right here in Mexicali, Baja California. It's part of one of the most important border crossing points in between Mexico and the United States. Those that start with Tijuana, Otay, San Isidro, Tecate, and finally Mexicali, a border crown across Calexico, California. Those are the places where most of the migrants arrived yesterday, and there are still some buses loaded with migrants coming from Navojoa, Sonora, that's over 100 kilometers away from here, and they are en route to this place, Mexicali, but they are not sure yet where they're gonna end their journey, either here or the next city, Tijuana. This is that's one of the most famous border towns also. So far we have the 175 migrants in this. This is a shelter for migrants, because these towns are really used to the migrant flux that's constant. All year long we have migrants coming from the southern part of Mexico and also Central and South America, that they take a rest here before attempting to cross to the United States. And these shelters that are scattered all along the border on the Mexican side are useful for them to take a rest, to get some food, clean clothes, and then go on their journey. So this is the place where most of the migrants of the migrant caravan are staying to get some food, clean clothes, and then go on their journey. So this is the place where most of the migrants of the migrant caravan are staying, but they don't have these shelters don't have enough capacity to hold them, all of them, so they are distributed all over the border shelters here in Baja California, Mexico.
We thank Pablo Perez for that report. Moving on, social organizations in Chile protested the government's violent crackdown of the Mapuche people, which left one man dead on Wednesday. Police used water cannons and tear gas to disperse around 100 protesters outside the government headquarters on Thursday. Social leaders are calling on citizens to take action against state persecution, as well as the continued appropriation of their lands. President Sebastián Piñera pledged an investigation into the police regarding the murder of the young Mapuche activist. And the Interior Minister Andrés Chadwick has also pledged to investigate the case. Social organizations want the operations carried out by Jungle Command in the south of the country to end.
Right now, our main commitment, and we are focused on this, is to clarify the facts as soon as possible, in a total and complete way.
Social organizations have continued to mobilize against what they call state-sponsored terrorism. Our correspondent in Santiago, Tiare Valenzuela, has the details.
Families of victims of state terrorism during the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet are flying the Mapuche flag high as they march around the presidential palace. They are condemning the forced disappearance of their family members during the dictatorship and the ongoing killing of the Mapuche people. They ask that the culture of impunity ends. These latest protests come on the heels of the number of Camilo Catrillanca by the National Police on Wednesday. We remain with them as they demand an end to human rights violations and fight for the demilitarization of Mapuche communities.
Teachers in Brazil are giving the proposed school without party law a failing grade. The initiative seeks to ban political opinions and debates from the classroom.
Educators are resisting attacks on their freedom in the classroom, calling the move censorship. The so-called gag rule not only prevents the expression of partisan ideologies at school, but it advocates dropping subjects linked to gender or sexual orientation. It also includes strict supervision of teaching practice. The proposed law is based on the premise that family values take precedence over school education in relation to moral, sexual, and religious education.
He knows that teachers, public schools, and university students were the ones that stood up in defense of public services, of the rights of the population and the poor. This war on education goes hand in hand with their assault on the poor.
Outside the Congress, where a special commission debates the proposal, conservative pressure is mounting against the nation's educators. Teachers like Luciana Pereira are opposed to what they believe is the criminalization of students who protested against the neoliberal government in Sao Paulo. Then, police came into her classroom and she was subsequently fired on her last week of work.
The students were known by the police because of their protest action. They were detained, searched, and threatened, even with guns pointing to their heads. Since then, I've become a victim of political persecution in my region. I was fired last year, then rehired, and because of the law, I am not allowed to resign. I was fired last year and then today again.
Deputy Ana Carolina Campagnolo, while having expressed support for Bolsonaro, is now calling on students to film the indoctrination of their teachers. Students are also standing in support of their teachers.
I am making a counter-proposal, which is to film these incidents unfolding at public schools in Sao Paulo. Under 20 years of the PSDV's rule, we have faced humiliation in the public education sector. There is poor structure in classrooms, and to add insult to injury, teachers are not well paid.
After 6 failed attempts, conservative parliamentarians are finally broaching the issue at Congress. If the proposed initiative is concretized, its constitutionality could be legally contested at the level of Supreme Court.
We'll take a short break now. Join us in a few. Welcome back. On Thursday, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro delivered the 2,300,000 home as part of the government's public housing program, the Gran Misión Vivienda Venezuela. Speaking at a special event at the Cuartel de la Montaña, President Maduro asked members of the country's communes to continue supporting what he called an architectural revolution. He highlighted that within the next year, the government hopes to deliver 700,000 more homes in order to reach their 3 million goal.
From this day until December 2019, we will deliver 700,000 more homes. We will reach our 3 million houses goal. And all of these homes are being provided through the Homeland ID card for those who are in the most need. These homes are going to single mothers, to young families, to workers, to entrepreneurs. As part of our 2025 Homeland Plan, we will deliver at least 5 million new homes, if not more.
And social communes in Venezuela are helping citizens learn farming skills and at the same time are supporting the nation's food sovereignty. Backyards in various neighborhoods in Caracas are being used to grow fruits, vegetables, and even raise cattle. The project is part of an initiative called the Great Agro-Venezuelan Mission, launched 2 years ago by President Nicolás Maduro. It encourages city dwellers to use their backyards for productive purposes and to be self-reliant in the face of ongoing economic attacks from abroad. Peru's public prosecutor has opened an investigation on the former president Alan Garcia for alleged money laundering linked to the Odebrecht scandal. Garcia has been questioned at the public prosecutor offices for the Lima Metro case, in which Odebrecht delivered around $24 million in bribes. The former president has been banned from leaving the country.
Once again, former President Alan Garcia went to the prosecutor's office to be questioned. But this time it wasn't as a witness, it was as a suspect.
There has been no questioning, because once again, it was suspended. Nothing else. Thank you.
Garcia is being investigated over government concessions to Odebrecht for the metro construction project, in which he allegedly took bribes from the company. Odebrecht's executives even admitted to paying $24 million in bribes.
Garcia not only showed interest in selecting trusted officials to work in the ministry so they could facilitate the project, but he was also directing things behind the scenes to favor Odebrecht with Lima's metro.
The former anti-corruption ombudsman investigated the case and alleged that Odebrecht paid off Garcia.
One of the ways they received bribes was by making them look legitimate, by taking up percentages of real payments and then fabricating receipts, making it all look legal.
Although Garcia denies any knowledge of bribes at his level, which 85% of Peruvians don't believe according to polls, he admits mid-level staff may have been imprisoned for bribery.
They have all been linked to corruption. There is clear evidence he's dirty.
Throw him in jail. It's as simple as that. That's what he deserves for how much he hurt our country.
The prosecutor's office has asked the judiciary to ban him from leaving the country so he doesn't escape justice.
The Cave Hill campus of the University of the West Indies is providing assistance to retrenched public sector workers in Barbados. On Saturday, the university will provide a clinic offering free professional advice to budding entrepreneurs as to how they can implement their business concepts. The session is open to all persons. Over the next few weeks, the university would roll out a suite of other initiatives geared towards helping persons on the breadline. And less than 1 month after Trinidad and Tobago experienced widespread flooding, rain devastated several communities in North, Central, and South Trinidad. The Met Office has issued an orange alert for riverine flooding, and citizens have been advised to stay away from flood-prone areas and roadways. The South Oropucha River was among several water channels that burst their banks. And the Communications Minister has provided a flooding update.
There were a number of isolated incidents during the course of the last 24 hours due to some landslips. We've had some roads give way. There was some loss of a couple houses. I saw reports of loss of potential loss of houses in Cedrus, but in Sandy Grande and some other areas. There have been a couple of isolated incidents that may not be attributable to the floodwaters, but we've had to send in rescue crews where there's been a person who had a stroke, another one who had a heart attack, etc. And because of the floodwaters surrounding their homes, we had to use rescue crews to get to them.
We'll be back very soon. Stay with us. Welcome back. Zimbabwe's opposition party has insisted that the government is responsible for 6 deaths, which occurred during post-election protests in August. Presidential spokesperson of the opposition movement for democratic change, Dr. Nkululeko Sibanda, spoke to Telesur in an exclusive interview.
to show you that the violence, the killing was carried out by state security agents, by the military, and people associated with ZANU-PF. This evidence is available in video form. It's available in terms of testimony from people who could witness. It's available in any form you like. So even the fact that you have a commission of inquiry is ludicrous in the sense that we do know who would have instructed or commanded the soldiers to go onto the streets.
And further afield in Spain, the trial has begun for 2 feminist activists. The women are accused of a crime against religious sentiments for demonstrating topless in a pro-abortion protest at a cathedral back in 2014. If convicted, they could face up to 4.5 years in prison.
It was a peaceful and symbolic action. We only did it to encourage social debate about a proposed law that sought to criminalize abortion.
Hundreds of residents in the French city of Marseille have been evacuated from their homes over concerns about the structural integrity of their buildings. This comes after the collapse of 2 buildings in the city 11 days ago, which claimed at least 8 lives and left scores seriously injured. Residents have accused city authorities of ignoring their previous warnings about huge cracks in the buildings that collapsed.
There were deaths. It's worrying. 1 death is already too many. For me, what happened is extremely worrying. Instead of worrying about renovating the building fronts for the city to look wealthier, start by worrying about Marseille residents. Redo the stairwells. It's concerning. You have to see inside to understand, but it is worrying.
Moving on, British Prime Minister Theresa May is attempting to sell her draft Brexit deal and save her political career. May is defending her position after 4 government members resigned, including Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab. There are reports that Environment Minister Michael Gove, who has been on the front line of the pro-Brexit campaign, is pinned to replace him. However, one question on the issue, the Prime Minister remained tight-lipped.
Have you offered him the role of Brexit Secretary?
Now, I don't talk about things to do with the cabinet reshuffle. I haven't appointed a new Brexit Secretary yet, but obviously I'll be doing that over the course of the next day or so.
If I were a betting man, or if you were a betting man, could I go down the bookies and talk about that, about Michael Gove? Is he worth putting money on?
I have to say, Nick, I've always made it a sort of rule in my life that I don't bet on anything to do with politics.
Right.
I'd advise you not to either.
All right, we'll have to watch and wait.
Dozens of mourners have held a symbolic funeral service for journalist Jamal Khashoggi in Turkey. Special prayers were recited in absentia as the journalist's body still has not been found. The solemn event was organized by friends and family, some 45 days after the Saudi journalist entered his consulate never to emerge. Funeral prayers were also held in other cities around the world, including Mecca. Saudi Arabia has repeatedly shifted its narrative of the circumstances surrounding Khashoggi's death. U.S. President Donald Trump says he has answered written questions from Special Counsel Robert Mueller, but has not yet submitted them. Trump made the revelation while speaking to reporters in the Oval Office. He says while he answered Mueller's questions very easily this week, he could exercise caution. The president did not indicate when he would hand over the questions to Mueller, who is investigating Russian meddling in the 2016 U.S. election. Mueller had previously signaled a willingness to accept written answers of matters of conclusion. And now it's time to bring you some other stories from around the world.
An Indonesian woman has been sentenced to 6 months in prison after exposing her boss' infidelity. In a turn of events, the Supreme Court overturned an earlier decision by a court to clear Baik Nuril Maknun of any wrongdoing. She is accused of breaking a law against spreading indecent material. The case in question dates back to 2012 when she recorded a conversation with the principal of the school where she worked, who spoke of explicitly about an affair with a colleague. The Chinese president is in Papua New Guinea, attending the handover ceremony of the Chinese-assisted Independence Boulevard. Xi Jinping, along with Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, were at the ceremony of the new infrastructure project that will enable locals to travel more efficiently. President Xi also attended the opening of the Butaka Academy, funded by China. It's made up of a kindergarten, a primary school, and a secondary school for over 3,000 students.
I'd like to say thank you to the Chinese government, because I've been teaching in this school for 5 years. My old school, Butuka Primary, which was in a desert. And I want to take this opportunity and privilege to thank the Chinese government for blessing us with this wonderful school. And we are proud, thank you, to be partner and friends to China.
Hundreds of Israeli settlers have taken to the streets of Tel Aviv to protest against the government ceasefire with Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Protesters blocked the roads and burned tires for the third day in a row. Israel and Hamas agreed to a 72-hour ceasefire after months of violence which began in July. Gaza's Ministry of Health claims that over 1,400 Palestinians have been killed and over 8,000 wounded. 64 Israelis, mostly soldiers, have died since the Gaza onslaught.
And with that world package, we've come to the end of this news brief. These and other stories, you can find them on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. For Telesur English, I am Estefania Bravo. Thank you for watching.